Hey everybody, it's Crazy Daylight here, and today I'm going to be talking about some basic music theory. After my last video on chords, a lot of people were asking me to go back and do some more basic stuff on theory, and I thought it'd be a good idea because a lot of the theory that's being taught out there these days is being taught on a sort of more traditional notation format, which means you need to be able to read music, which it's not really my strong point. I'm sure a lot of you are more familiar with a format like this, a sequencer and piano roll, so I thought I'd go through it on that piano roll and hopefully it'll help a few of you guys that are struggling with it pick it up. I'll start off with just going through what a scale is. It's essentially a collection of notes that people use that helps to keep all of your melodies and harmonies unified in a song. If you stick to a scale, then melodically and harmonically, you can't do anything too crazy that's going to sound terrible and clashing notes and that kind of thing. It's nice to go outside the scale as well, but if you want to play it safe, then sticking to a scale is a good way to do it. So I write a lot of my stuff in G minor, and a G minor scale goes something like this. It's a G, A sharp, C, D, D sharp, F, and then back up to G. Now this scale, it keeps going sort of infinitely. So that here is just as much a G minor scale as that is here, and really we only need to cover one octave for what I'm going to explain though, so I'll delete that extra bit. And what makes a scale a scale? I mean, a minor scale is different to a major scale, but how is it different? If there's certain notes in the scale that are common between a major and minor scale, and certain notes that are different. The notes that are the same are the first, the fourth, the fifth, and then back up here to that first or eighth, whatever you want to call it, up there. The notes that define a minor scale are this here, which is a minor third. There's also the minor sixth and the minor seventh. I'll just explain a little bit about scale degrees now so that you understand what I'm talking about when I'm sort of quoting these numbers. Scale degrees just count up respectively through the scale. So it starts off with the first degree. It's also known as a root note or a tonic. But yeah, whatever you want to call it, you've got your first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. It's pretty straightforward, but if any of you were sort of wondering what I was talking about in my other video with these numbers, that's what it is. So now we've got that cleared up. Back to minor scales. This third degree is a flattened third. So if you were to move it up to here, say, that would be a major third. Bring it back down, we'll keep it on the minor third. And there's a certain amount of, I suppose, intervals between each note in a minor scale that will always be the same. Starting here, each one of these notes, like I suppose the smallest change in pitch on a piano, it's known as a semitone. I'm sure most of you have got that grasped. And then if you go up 2, that's known as a tone. So the series of intervals that make the minor scale goes tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, and tone. That'll always stay the same no matter how high up the scale you go. And these scales can be transposed as well. So that minor scale, using that series of tones and semitones, if we take the whole thing and just judging it off that root note, move it up to say, D, then that's going to be a D minor scale because you've still maintained that sequence of tones and semitones. I'll bring it back down. Now, for those of you who are keen to use major scales, I can show you how to make this into a major scale and what the difference is between a major and minor. So there's the third here needs to go up to become a major third. The sixth needs to go from a minor sixth to a major sixth, and the seventh needs to go from a minor seventh up to a major seventh. There, now we have a major scale, and if we go through the tones and semitones, once again it goes tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And as I said before, if you want to make it, say, let's go for A sharp major scale, just move the root note up to A sharp, and then that sequence of notes has stayed the same, and you've got yourself that major scale. I'm going to move it back down to a minor scale now and take you guys through some very basic stuff about chords. Now that we know about scale degrees, you should be able to sort of work out how to build some basic chords. The most basic form of a chord is a triad. It is the first, third and fifth degrees of the scale. So let's say we're building a triad of G. We're going to have this G, this A sharp, and the D, your first, third and fifth degrees. If we say want to build a chord off a different degree of the scale, then we can do it exactly the same, but there's certain points, because like all of these scale degrees are different distances apart, some chords that you build, some degrees that you build a chord off are going to have a major chord, and some are going to have a minor chord. Now the difference between a major and a minor triad is this third. The first and the fifth are going to stay the same, but the third will change. So here we've got that minor chord, so let's have a listen to that. Now if we move that up, made a major chord, you can just hear the difference here. Sounds a little bit brighter, more chirpy. But yeah, that's the basics of how to build a chord. So say, the minor, the tonic note in a minor chord is always going to be a minor chord built off it if you're using just those standard scale degrees. So is the fourth, so is the fifth. They will always be minor in a minor scale, and if we go up to a major scale, just moving those notes all up again, you can see building that tonic chord that's now made it into a major chord. Where are we up to? Let's just get back to this minor scale. Yep, that's looking good. Okay, so where are we up to now? So let's try building a note off the third degree and see what happens. So we start off with A. Now you've got to sort of think a little bit laterally here with these scale degrees. While you're building off the third degree of the scale, for the purpose of building the chord, you've got to think of that as the first degree, so you can count up your first, third and fifth. So you've got your first degree here, third, and what are we going up to? And fifth. So there we have a triad built off the third degree of the G minor scale, and it happens to be a major chord. So there you have it. If you build a chord off the third or the sixth or seventh, pretty much any of the notes that make the scale what it is in minor are going to be major. It's a little bit weird to get your head around, but it makes music really cool. Is, you know, if you're writing a piece and you want it to sound, you know, say it's in a minor key, but you want it to sound sort of with a major tonality and sound a bit brighter, then you can use those major chords in the scale, which is what I like to do quite a lot. I think that's why my music sounds a little bit more happy and sort of lively, is because I use a lot of those major chords, even though I'm quite often in a minor key. Conversely, if you want to sound you know, a bit more dark and gloomy, then stick to the minor chords, and you should be able to get that kind of effect. Getting a little bit more complex with the chords, we'll try building a seventh chord. So pretty easy to guess what that's going to be. I'll build it off the G just so that it's easy to get your head around. We're going to have the triad and then add in that seventh degree of the scale. It's really good to start using these more advanced chords. I think it's quite noticeable how interesting your chord progressions get, and also just using the functionality of those chords as well. If you're using just the triads, you know, it can be nice and grounding, and then these extra chords, I suppose they add a bit of tension or a bit of, it sort of just takes the music in a slightly different direction, other than being on that grounded kind of thing that you get from triads. Just getting like even a little bit more complicated. As I said, the scale continues to go up through the octaves. We can do something like adding a ninth. So generally, if you're just talking about the scale, once you got back up to here, it'd still be a second. But when we're talking about, it'd still be a second degree of the scale. But when we're talking in chord terms, we continue up through the numbers. So if you want to make a G minor ninth chord, you can add on that A up there, which is essentially the second degree, but it's a ninth up here. I'll just play that chord for you because it's a pretty nice chord, and then you can sort of, I'll show you the difference between the different sounds. So this is your 9. Get rid of that. Down to the triad. And you can see after hearing those nice sort of lush, big stacked up chords, it sounds a little bit bland just having the triad. So give that a go, play around. You know, you don't have to stick to the scale. If you want to put, you know, an extra note in there that's not in the scale and just try it out, see how it sounds. That's what I do most of the time. I'm not thinking about what key the music is in all the time. I just play around, and that's one good thing to remember, is once you know music theory, it's pretty good to forget it again and just, you know, go where the music takes you. But it's also good to have the theory there to go back to. If you write yourself into a corner and you're not really sure where to go, you can think about the fundamentals and, you know, what the textbook would say to get yourself back on track. Just trying to think if there's anything else I need to go into. That's pretty much got everything covered. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Feel free to ask me any questions as always. I'm happy to answer them, or if you've got any suggestions for future tutorials, then hit me up. If you want to keep receiving these toots, then subscribe on YouTube, or if you just want to hear some tunes, then check out my SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/crazydaylight. Thanks for listening, everybody, and I'll see you guys again soon.